Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease and today on Is It Meta or Is It Meta? We're taking a look at the P8AR. Let's go ahead and take a look. Today we have the medic Archangel. And for today's target, we have WinRAR 42. All right, so we're starting off, of course, with the P8 at 30 meters, or about 30.1 once zooming in here. There is WinRAR in light armor. We're gonna go ahead and shoot in the leg, but let me go ahead and turn up my sound. All right, now at this point, we're gonna go ahead and fire. One shot. 30 meters, light armor. So now we're gonna go ahead and see what the damage looks like here on that impact. All right, with that, the legs took a 29% damage hit to the overall health of the character at this distance with the P8. Now let's go ahead and start with the chest right here in the center here. I'm gonna go ahead and fire. Okay, now let's go ahead and see what the damage looks like. Okay, with that shot, it caused a total of 36% damage to the chest at 30 meters. Now let's go ahead and move on to the headshot at 30 meters. Here we go. Critical hit. Let's see what that damage was. Okay, so at 30 meters to the head, it caused 59% damage and it induced a bleed to the character, which is actually pretty great. So 30 meters is done. We're gonna move on to 100 meters next and see what the damage on this weapon looks like at all 3 points as well. This is, of course, the Bearing P8AR. Okay, so now we're at 100 meters. Gonna start with the leg shot on light armor. Here we go. One hit, done, and we'll see what the damage looks like. Okay, so that resulted in a hit that did 26% damage at 100 meters to the leg. So let's go ahead and move on to the chest shot from, of course, 100 meters light armor. Here we go. Impact. Let's go ahead and see what that damage was. All right, so that impact to the chest did 33% damage to the light armor. So let's go ahead and move to the headshot here to see what we're looking at. There we go. The head was hit, so let me go ahead and see what that damage was. All right, so the damage at 100 meters to the head with light armor was 51% with a bleed, and it also caused a tier 3 head injury at this point. So with that, it looks like the difference is kind of subtle between 30 meters and 100 meters, but it is there. So now let's check what 300 meters looks like. Okay, so now we're at 300 meters with light armor. This is gonna be quite the shot to, have happen with this scope, but let's give it a shot here, right on the leg. No hit, let's try again. There we go, one hit on the leg, 300 meters, and we'll see what the damage looks like. Okay, so at 300 meters light armor, it caused 26% damage, which is quite interesting because at 100 meters with the leg, it also caused 26% damage. So now let's move on to the chest shot and see how much damage we're looking at. Okay, that was a good hit. Now let's go ahead and see what the damage looks like. Okay, so with the chest shot at 300 meters, it was a total of 32% damage with a tier 3 injury. So unlike the 100 meter, it was a percent less, and then you also got a tier 3. So now we're gonna move on to a headshot, which at this distance is gonna be quite interesting. Let's see what we can do here. I think that hit him in the head. Let me check. Okay, so at 300 meters to the head, it did cause 49% damage plus a bleed. No tier injury this time. So now we're gonna go ahead and move on to medium armor and see what we're looking at for damage on this weapon from 30 meters, 100 meters, and 300 meters. Okay, so now we're at 30 meters, medium armor. As you can see here, I'm gonna start with the legs. Here we go. Okay, took a leg shot. Let's see what that damage looks like. Okay, so after that impact, he did take 26% damage, no bleed, no tier injury. So let's take a look at the chest shot now. All right, let's see what that damage looks like. All right, so the chest shot ended up being 32% damage. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the headshot. All right, let's see what that damage looks like. Okay, so that impact caused 48% damage plus a bleed, which is quite the difference between the light armor and the medium armor. So while they set up for the 100-meter shot, I'm gonna go ahead and rearm. Okay, so now we are at a 100-meter shot with the legs here. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Okay, that was the impact. Now let's go and see what the damage caused. Okay, so with the leg shot at 100 meters on the medium armor, it was 23% damage, no bleed, no tear. Let's go ahead and check what the chest is gonna look like. Okay, chest shot, and let's see what the damage looks like. Okay, so at that distance with the medium armor, it was a 29% damage with a tier 3 injury to the chest. So now let's go ahead and move on to the headshot. Okay, there we go. We got the headshot. Let's see what damage it caused. Okay, so at 100 meters to the head, it was a 43% damage plus a bleed plus a tier 3 injury, which is quite different than the 100-meter shot at light armor with 51% damage and a bleed, no tier injury. So much bigger difference change on the damage, which is pretty nice. So medium armor definitely will help you in some situations. Now we're going to the 300-meter to see if there's any other damage outputs between the 100 and 300, and then we'll move to heavy armor. Okay, so now we're at 300 meters, leg shot. Let's see what happens here. Okay, that was a leg shot, and let's see what the damage looks like. Okay, so there seems to be a pattern here. With 300 meters, it is still 23% damage, but this time we got a tier 3 injury. So same damage as 100 meters, but with a tier 3. Now let's go ahead and check out the chest impact. Let's see what happens here. Okay, let's see what that damage is. Okay, so with that shot, it was 28% damage, no bleed, no tier injury, but it is a point less than the 100 meter. So there seems to be a little drop off between 100 and 300 with your chest and potentially your head. Let's go ahead and test that next. Oof. There we go, got the headshot. Let's see what that damage looks like. Okay, so that shot accounted for 43% damage plus a bleed to the head at 300 meters, which honestly at 100 meters, it was still 43%. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the heavy armor next and see what the damage is. And then we're gonna do a extra long shot at probably about 500 meters if we can, and see if there is any other drop off after the 300 meter mark. Let's go ahead and try out the heavy armor next. Okay, so now we're at 30 meters. We're wearing heavy armor, so let's go ahead and take a look at what the damage looks like. All right, one shot to the leg. Let's go ahead and see what he says. Okay, so the legs are done, and that was 22% damage, so let's go ahead and check out the chest. All right, let's see what the damage was. Okay, so that shot to the chest was 28% damage. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a headshot and see what the damage was. Okay, so the headshot was 41% damage plus a bleed. So it is looking pretty big difference between the 3 armor sets, which we'll take a look at a comparison at the very end of the video. So let's go ahead and move on to 100 meters leg shot. Okay, we're at 100 meters. Let's go ahead and take that shot and see what the damage is. Okay, so the legs at 100 meters was 20% damage. Now let's go ahead and check out the chest and see what that damage was. All right, at 100 meters to the chest, it was 25% damage, no bleed, no tier injury. Now let's go ahead and check out the head. Let's see what that damage was. All right, so that's the end of the 100 meter. The headshot was 37% damage, plus a bleed, plus a tier 3 injury. A pretty good amount of damage, but not that bad for wearing heavy armor. It sounds like you could take close to 3 shots before being taken down. And at 100 meters, getting hit in the head 3 times, that'd be a pretty good marksman. Let's go ahead and move on to 300 meters and see if there's a difference. All right, so now we're at 300 meters on the leg shot. Let's go ahead and give it a shot here and see what that damage was. Okay, so the leg shot was the same at 100 meters with only 20% damage with no bleed, no tier injury. So now let's check out the chest. All right, let's see what that damage was. All right, the chest shot was 24% damage. Again, 1 point off from the chest shot at 100 meters. So not much of a difference there. Let's check the head shot and then we'll move on to a little bit of a further shot and see what it comes down to. All right, let's see what that damage was. Okay, so the final shot with heavy armor to the head at 300 meters was 37% damage plus a bleed. So pretty much the same at 100 meters, minus a tier 3 injury, of course. So now we're gonna take one more shot at an extreme distance with this gun to see if there's any other difference or drop off and I'll report back to you. Let's give it a try. Okay, so we moved outside for this final shot. We're at 562.3 meters, so let's go ahead and see what this feels like for him. Okay, that was a hit. Let's see what that damage was. Okay, so that shot to medium armor at the chest was 28% damage from this distance. Now let's try the heavy armor here that WinRAR is wearing, and let's see what we could do. Okay, let's see what that did. He's wearing heavy armor, so we'll see what the damage was. Okay, so the last shot to the heavy armor on WinRAR was at 551 meters to the chest wearing heavy armor. It did 24% damage, so there was really no change between 300 meters and 551 meters. It seems like your damage drop off after about 200 meters, maybe 300, is just completely gone. So with that, here's all the numbers compared, so you can see what this weapon can do for you. It is such a fantastic weapon, even with its recent buffs and then nerfs and then kind of going all over the place. The gun still hits really hard, and it is just a great solo fire weapon, even though you do see there is an option for full auto. The guns we have in the verse right now are a single fire only. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this one, and thank you for watching. Honestly, this gun for me is just fantastic. I give it a double thumbs up here for such a fantastic looking gun, and its firepower is just great. Thank you all for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you all in the next one.